Hello and welcome to all. Have you ever seen prisoners escaping by helicopter? Or burglars caught in the act? Well, get ready because this and other amazing things are waiting for you in this video. Here are some strange events captured by the security cameras. In the Chinese province of Lanhui, in Luan, on April 1st, the surveillance cameras of an underground shopping mall filmed some unusual and very funny images. We see a man, who seems to be late, running down the stairs. Apparently in as much of a hurry as he was distracted, he never saw the glass door in front of him. If this man was late for his appointment, he will have had a solid and amusing justification, since he hits the window nicely. The impact is such that the glass door opens until it hits the glass walls, before shattering into 1,000 pieces. A little dazed by the shock, and holding his head with both hands, the man slows down, but continues his walk, without worrying about the damage he has done. Even if he is well beaten, he escapes without injury. This young girl seen on the pictures was very happy to try her brand new gyroskate, looking for thrills. But his imprudence was not to use it in a safe enough place, without anything around, yet this is what is always recommended to beginners. Confident and safe, she had fun on her new machine, just a few steps away from a pool. But her experience was shorter than expected. She loses her balance, the gyroskate veers off course and heads for the pool, while the girl throws herself on the ground to try and catch it. It was only once the gyroskate was in the water that she finally managed to get her hands on it. If these devices can roll over puddles or withstand splashes of water, they are not made to be completely immersed. The poor girl paid a high price for her carelessness. But this mistake will certainly benefit her because the gyroskate is not to be used lightly. They cause an astonishing number of falls, injuries, and accidents, to the point that doctors advise against them for children. The manager of this small store took pleasure in recording the most comical scenes during a whole day thanks to the surveillance camera. The goal? To have a good time at the expense of the customers and to advertise his establishment. He has a plan for doing this that does not require much money or time. Simply polish the windows with the utmost care, and make them so clean and neat that they become invisible. The joke is so successful that the images show a crowd of customers who in turn fall for it. They hit the window one after the other, and their reaction is all the more comical as they are divided between pain and astonishment. It was a reckless publicity stunt in the sense that it could have gone badly wrong if a customer had walked to the exit in rapid steps. You know how easy it is to break your nose, or worse. Luckily, nothing unfortunate happened, and the prank had the desired effect. On his way to deliver a package in a quiet neighborhood, this truck driver had no idea of the inconvenience he would endure. The wide, empty streets of this district, lined with well-spaced cottages, made his task easier, and he was sure to avoid any delay. As he turned into a street, he was disturbed by the barking of 3 dogs, who were in a fenced-in garden. From their excitement, the passage of this postman must have been the most animated moment of their day. But the restlessness of the dogs was not the only concern of the driver. He had the worst scare a truck driver can have, losing control of the vehicle. Rest assured, nothing untoward happened, and at no time was his life or that of other people threatened. After having left the field of the camera, the truck reappears, driving alone in reverse, and next to it the driver who tries to catch it to activate the emergency brake, under the redoubled barking of the dogs. But his effort had not been effective. He then had the strange idea of moving away from his truck, as if he feared it would explode, while it continued its course until it hit a tree near a nearby house. One can imagine the postman being relieved that there was finally more fear than harm, because it is not uncommon for this kind of incident to cause victims and quite a lot of damage. It can be very beneficial to equip your home with a surveillance camera. This example proves it. In this footage of a house in Massachusetts, open-faced burglars are seen entering the house without much trouble. They look so relaxed that it is clear they are used to it. They quietly inspect the house for quite some time, looking for valuable items. They quickly head for the upper floor, completely ignoring the surveillance camera. Their plan seems to be working perfectly, and although we can't see if they got their hands on anything of value, we can guess that they are looking forward to having plenty of time to complete their offense. But the owner of this house is quite cunning. The 2 thugs were unaware that they were being observed from a distance by the owner, who had direct access to the images. This is what allowed him to call the police, who hurried to the scene. After a few moments, several police officers entered the house and went to the floor where the suspicious noises were coming from. In no less than 3 minutes, they proceeded very easily to the arrest of Brian Chandonnet and Jay Birch. A child's play for the police, and an excellent publicity for the security system sellers. Anyway, the 2 burglars paid a high price for their inattention, and now they are out of the way. Here is a story that you only see in the movies, authentic and spectacular images. Danny Provençal and Benjamin Houdin Barbeau are both prisoners of the St. Jérôme Penitentiary in Canada. The former had committed a robbery and an arson. The two crooks had planned an impressive escape, with the help of two accomplices on the outside. While the prisoners were waiting for their release, their accomplices took hostage a poor helicopter pilot, Sébastien Faure, who was far from suspecting that the two tourists he had on board were actually the relatives of the two prisoners. Everything was calculated. The two prisoners were on the lookout for the slightest signal while the helicopter pilot was under threat from the two passengers. One of them was pointing a gun. They were forcing him to deviate from the planned route in order to get to the prison. The plan worked very well. The helicopter, as seen in the pictures, landed quietly on the roof of the prison. A rope attached to the aircraft was then deployed in the outer yard. The two inmates clung to it, under the eyes of the prison guards, who could only use their weapons if a life was threatened. A few moments later, the helicopter takes off again and landed far from the penitentiary to allow the two criminals to board, as they were still hanging onto the rope. But luck would not smile on them twice. Danny and Benjamin's run barely lasted a day. The two fugitives were finally caught in a wooded area. They have, as you can imagine, received heavy sentences, adding to the ones they were already facing, and their time in prison has been much longer. They gained a bit of fame, so much so that Benjamin gave a phone interview from prison to a local newspaper. He called their little adventure a Superman trip. Through several images captured by surveillance cameras, the ABC News television channel highlights an increasingly worrying problem. People who use their phones while walking in the street, like this woman in the middle of a shopping center. This habit is more harmful than it seems, and accidents are more numerous than one can imagine. If sometimes the incident is comical, it also happens that it ends very badly. Here, we see on the surveillance images of a shopping mall, a woman writing a message, surely very urgent, without looking where she goes. She heads straight for a large fountain, and the fall is inevitable, as she is completely absorbed by her phone. As expected, she stumbles and falls into the fountain, but fortunately for her, more fear than harm. Because, as mentioned earlier, the phenomenon of S-mombies, that is to say, phone zombies, is growing every year. In a survey conducted by YouGov and published by Le Parisien, we even learned that 65% of pedestrians admit to consulting their phone while walking in the street. In any case, the message that this woman had to send will surely have cost her phone. Such an experience will probably encourage her to be less distracted while walking the next few times. Akira is a female Siberian husky who has gained a little notoriety for an adventure that is hard to believe, but true. Akira is described as a wanderer and adventurer by her owners, a family who live in Cottonwood Heights. She never misses an opportunity to escape the house and go on a journey. But this time she has outdone herself, as it seems she has set a specific goal, to go to Smith's supermarket and steal a toy from the shelves. She manages to deceive the vigilance of her masters and makes a journey of about 10 kilometers, following a very precise route by passing under two highways, before arriving at her destination. Once in the store, the surveillance footage clearly shows that Akira does not hesitate too much, and goes directly to the pet section. There, she found her happiness, a small leather bone, which she grabbed and took with her as she fled, back home. The owners, upon seeing this new toy, were split between hilarity and amazement, and they clearly guessed that Akira had stolen her toy from the store they used to go to. Akira wasn't punished, but her owners made her apologize to the store staff. They all went to the store together, where the husky, although guilty of shoplifting, was welcomed like a superstar. This time Akira behaved more appropriately. She went to the cash register, and her family paid for her toy. We imagine that since that day, the pretty Akira is watched very closely and that she does not have too much opportunity to go on the adventure. This young and beautiful Russian woman certainly did not suspect what was in store for her when she took this elevator with a hidden surveillance camera, the walls of which are made of transparent glass, so that the buildings in front of her are clearly visible. She waits patiently for the elevator to take her to the desired floor. At no time does she suspect that the view outside is fake. She does not have in front of her a transparent glass as usual, but several flat screens joined and superimposed, which reproduce what one would have seen through the glass in normal time. The purpose of such a setup is to simulate an earthquake, thanks to two simultaneous effects: sudden and violent shocks in the elevator car, combined with special effects on the screens that would show the collapse of the building opposite. The young woman, absorbed in a telephone conversation, does not even imagine the impending cataclysm, and she looks at the false windows, dreamy, until the moment of the fake earthquake. We then see, in the space of a few seconds, the poor young girl crying out in terror and clutching wherever she can while seeing with horror the building opposite which disappears in a cloud of dust. Let's face it, it's an experience no one wants to have, even if it lasts for a few short moments. It is clear that the poor girl must have felt the worst terror of her life. And that's the end of this video. What did you think of these strange moments filmed by the camera? Which one surprised you the most? Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which of these filmed sequences seemed to you the most sensational. See you tomorrow at the same time on the same channel for a new video.